On today's show, we take a look at Internet Gran Prix Manager. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Sean Cole with my good buddy,
Darren Ganji.
And today we are definitely here to do something a little different than normal.
Much.
And today we're covering iGP Manager, or Internet Gran Prix Manager.
Yeah, and if you've never heard of it, basically what it is, it's a MMO, or a massively multiplayer online. And what it is you can create and manage your own F1 team against other people online real time.
Like we mentioned, iGP is a massively multiplayer online game where you can be an F1 team manager, customize your team, negotiate deals, and develop the car and race people online, which is the point.
And iGP is the first MMO F1 manager to have live and interactive races. It's free to play and to try out, but there is a subscription as well, and we'll talk more about that when we get to it. How and when you go racing is your choice with the customizable league system.
You can either join a league that races daily, a few times a week, or once a week like the one that we created that, well, we've learned how much time it takes, so you better make it one a week for us.
Well, honestly, I would love to do it more times a week, but I get so wrapped up in it already, and we'll get more to that later, but I could spend my whole life playing this game.
Like I said, you can create your own league, and that can be private or public. Or you can go out into the iGP world and find a league that suits your needs and play with everybody else out there.
Yeah, actually I was thinking about creating another account just so I can, but then again I would never get anything done. So a little bit more box cover stuff for you guys. Whether you have 10 minutes per race to prepare, whether your aim is to earn bragging rights with your friends or race competitively against real people across the globe, everyone from casual to pro gamer can create an experience tailored to their lifestyle. This flexibility enables an unrivaled live race experience with a live race viewer, manager chat, real-time strategy calls, and dynamic circuit environments. With all weather streamed from the real location.
iGP Manager is continually updated anytime you sign in. You get instant access to latest updates with no install process required. That means that pretty much anywhere that you use a device with an internet connection and a web browser, you can play iGP Manager right away. And here's some more from their features list. Create and customize your own Grand Prix team. Race how you want, when you want, setting the race length and times to suit you and your friends.
And your goal is to take your team to the top with team management, research, and development facility construction, training, and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it gets deep. I mean, you could just log in and just do the basics, the bare minimum, but I got a feeling those guys that joined our league and are doing the bare minimum are the ones that are getting no points.
Yeah, we are putting a lot of time into it, and notice we're at least running at the front, or up front.
Well, you won the first race. 17 international race circuits, live races with team orders, strategy controls, and dynamic weather fetched from the real-world locations, like we mentioned. You can race head-to-head with your friends and or against thousands of real people from around the world. There's a loyal community of motorsports enthusiasts and gamers. Matter of fact, Dale Earnhardt Jr. endorses this title. So that's pretty cool. And automatic updates and improvements to the service.
And as we mentioned, iGP is free to play, so I mean, you can get in there, check it out, play it for yourself, and you don't even need a review even. You can just see what it's got. But the 2D viewer is actually, they've got a free trial.
Three races.
But ultimately, that's something you're gonna have to pay for, and we've already learned, I'd call it a necessity.
I would. And what we're talking about, there's actually two ways you can do this. If you play for free, you're gonna use this text or like live timing and scoring interface. So you don't get to see the cars going around the track like we have here. We're actually looking at a live race that's going on right this minute. So if you don't have the 2D viewer, you're basically just looking at live timing and scoring, and it definitely isn't as fulfilling.
Right.
Because we tried it at our last race, and it just doesn't add as much. So like Sean said, you get 3 free trials of the 2D viewer, and then after that, if you want to purchase it, it's $29.99 British pounds per year, or just about $50 if you're here in the US.
So there's what iGP is all about in a nutshell, at least. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to show you how to start your career in iGP Manager and how to get the most out of it. We're also going to go over some of the pros, cons, and give you some of our final thoughts right after this.
Tamiya's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials, such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components, as well as performance upgrading with optional parts, allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about Tamiya, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
Welcome back to our review of iGP Manager. By the way, we didn't mention this. This is for the PC only. You can't play this on the PS3 or any other format or platform. Darren Gage here with Sean Cole. And we're going to tell you about how you get started in your career, and at least as much as we can, because we talked about it. We could probably sit here for a couple hours going through each section, but that takes the fun away from it. You really got to do it yourself. So first thing you should do is there's a beginner's guide. And actually, you can't do anything until you join a league, but read that beginner's guide.
Right.
So you might as well just read the beginner's guide. It really gets you going.
Next thing you're going to need to do is figure out whether you want to manage a 1 or 2 car team, because the leagues are set up for 1 or 2 car teams.
Yep.
So, and basically we like being part of the 2 car team, where I manage 2 teams, meaning it takes 16 drivers or league managers to fill up a full grid of 32 cars.
You can only race in one league at a time.
Right.
So if you join a 1-car league, you're only going to have 1 driver, and I like having both the drivers, because then I can share setups back and forth. And
it seems more Formula 1 too.
Exactly, that is the way Formula 1, except for they have more cars. Formula 1's only 24 cars, where this is 32, so which is kind of cool. I like the extra cars.
Yeah.
So once you've read the guide and then joined or started your own league, it's time to get started on your management career. You start with 50 million virtual dollars. You can spend it on your staff, facilities, repairs, drivers, everything. I mean, that's what you need to survive.
That's what you're managing here. And you know, like you mentioned at the beginning, you don't have to do everything. Some things already happen. Like they start you with a staff, and all your staff members are only getting paid $1,000 per race. And I'll tell you, that's dirt cheap. That's nothing. But I don't know what that staff's doing for you.
Yeah, well, and some of the staff doesn't really start doing stuff until you're level 5 too.
Right.
Like I think it's the marketing.
Right.
So that's where it comes into reading. You know, I'll give you a tip. Up your designer, and I think it's the technical director who handles your engineers and your mechanics.
Right.
And your doctor too.
Yeah.
So there's 3 of the 4 staff members that it's probably a good idea to upgrade.
One of the cool things about iGP, and this regardless of how much you've learned about it, every time you go to your home screen, there'll be items in red, and they're telling you this is what you need to do next, essentially. And in this case, we're going to need to hire some drivers.
Yep.
So you can go through and just kind of click on some names and hire them, or you can be like us and kind of go through every driver, looking at their different traits and abilities and deciding that way.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the one thing. You need to do 2 things to start your first race. Hire your 2 drivers and save your setups and your strategies. And all you really got to do is go into that screen and set save.
Right.
And you're racing. Now, you're not going to score any points if you're racing against us if you do that, because, again, we're going, into it and really taking advantage. And you're going to, there's 2 ways you can go about it. You can either just sign up and do the bare minimum.
Right.
Or you can get the most out of it, which I think is the best way to have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. On top of hiring the right staff, you're also going to need to start setting up your car, and this comes down to something that you mentioned earlier, which is judging the weather. You got to look at what the race weather is so that when you start doing your practice runs, you have similar weather. Otherwise, I mean, there's no point. Last week we ran in Malaysia, and it was a threat of rain.
Heavy rain.
Yeah, heavy rain. So we were all scrambling trying to decide when to do the practice, because if it was going to rain on Sunday, I want to practice, and then it wasn't giving us that weather. So you got to be kind of strategic about when you do your practice runs.
Well, and that forecast can, just like any regular weather forecast, it can change, because I checked it Friday night and it said heavy rain. Come Sunday, cloudy.
Yeah.
And so it was going back and forth, and only 4 days before the race can you actually see Sunday's forecast.
Right.
So next race we got China coming up, and so far every day it says cloudy. So hopefully come Sunday it's going to be cloudy, but again, you get 5 test runs per driver, and during those test runs you can adjust your setups based on what they'll tell you. They'll give you feedback. And if you adjust your car for a cloudy or sunny day and all of a sudden you got rain, and huge difference, like wings,
right?
Definite big time wig changes, and so yeah, it really makes it interesting and keeps it fresh.
Yeah.
Because think about it, every time you go to a new track, or that same track again in the next season, it could be a totally different weather scenario.
It keeps you a little on edge.
Definitely. We were on edge. Made a big difference in some of the strategies for the guys. I know one of the guys that finished last set up for rain.
Right.
So really hurt him.
Yeah.
So now some of the other management things that you need to do behind the scenes, you need to buy new facilities that can raise your levels or enhance your drivers. Like there's a gym, so you can't enhance your physical attributes of your drivers until you buy the gym.
Right.
$2 million. So and then there's research facility. You can buy a simulator that helps upgrade your setups or enhance your driving setups. You can also add employees. So you can add like designers, mechanics, engineers, and the more you add, the quicker stuff can get done.
Right.
But then you also need to add bigger facilities. Your office starts at 40 people, then you can upgrade to 80, then 120, and every step of the way is like $4 million.
Well, and it's important too, like you mentioned, when it comes to like changing out parts on the car, you need all those mechanics and engineers to do it. Otherwise, you can't even fix all the things you need to fix between races.
Yep.
So you need to build that staff. You need to build the facility to support that staff.
Like you're managing a whole F1 team. It's not just race day management. You are building your team from the ground up, basically.
And something else that comes into play is sponsors and suppliers, which you're also constantly managing. And in the default, they give you suppliers. So you're ready to go. You're going to be able to make a race.
No sponsors, though.
But no sponsors, that means no money. And then when it comes to that, you even have to negotiate with your sponsors to get the most money out of them, set the terms, the length of the contract, things like that. When it comes to the suppliers, this could affect your car performance, though.
Yep.
Better engine, you're going to be faster. And we didn't know this because I ran a few races with the stock suppliers. Yeah, and it is not the best fuel, not
versus
the best
the
tire. Yeah. But now we're all set up there as well.
And while we're on the subject of the sponsors, tip for you. You need to get each sponsor for $1 million to start out with, because you can do it. Get the top sponsors, get them all to negotiate. I think I got 1.1 million out of all of those 4 sponsors. Another cool thing about the sponsors is there's real world sim racing sponsors in there. iRacing, ISI, Image Space Incorporated, Obuto. You can all try to acquire those as sponsors, and it's really cool. So, like we mentioned, we could sit here for hours talking about we haven't even scratched the surface. We probably have. We've scratched the surface, but lots more that we could have talked about, but we'd be here for at least another hour. So, that being said, going to get into some pros and cons and then give you our final thoughts and wrap this up. So, starting with the cons.
All right, the cons, not a big list, but the first con, we mentioned the 2D pack we have going behind us. I'd like to see cars for my icons instead of little dots. It's just little circles with numbers, and it's actually a little hard to keep track of who's who sometimes.
Yeah, and I didn't realize until later that you can change the color of your dot.
Right.
So now I'm like going for like as unique as I can. I'm bright yellow now, as a matter of fact, so that's not us racing. But it's a little pricey, next con. A little pricey for that 2D packet. $50 a year, and considering you play for free, even though the free doesn't get you as much stuff, it is a little pricey. So personally, I'd like to see that a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Or maybe until they come out with a new version. Speaking of which, we'll talk about this at the end, but they're developing a completely new interface and all sorts of new stuff for it. So lots going on there.
Another con is, this is sort of a funny con. This is it is addictive. It is time consuming. So if you're a busy person, I would not even touch this because this could ruin everything for you and suck all of your free time.
Yeah, that's for sure. And last con, without 2D, you're definitely not going to get as much out of it because it's kind of hard to manage what your team is doing real time. Now, if all you want to do is set it and forget it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you want to really manage your team real time and run yourself out of fuel like I did at the last race, then it really helps to have the 2D.
Now that only comes into play on race day because everything else we talked about is happening for everybody regardless of version. Just comes down to that during the race, viewing the race, controlling your driver stuff.
Yeah, which now leads us to the pros. You can do the non-2D part anywhere. You can manage it from your smartphone, anything with an internet connection that can log you into a website, you can play this game. So we mentioned not available on the PS3 or the Xbox. Actually, you could play it on one of those by going through their web browser, but that's one of the pros.
Okay. Another pro, and I think I just mentioned this is very addictive and time consuming. So if you're a really busy person, I'd stay away from this because it's going to suck out all of your free time.
But if you have some free time and you want it, that's why it could be one of the pros too. It's definitely fun and addicting.
Absolutely.
Fun and competitive too. I mean, me and this guy have been on the phone with each other for the entire last 2 races.
Yeah.
Talking strategies, what's going on. I mean, we're teammates too, so we're
on a 5-stop strategy.
Well, 5-stint strategy, 4-stop.
Yeah.
That's what I am too. Lopez is in 4th. Rodriguez 5th.
Ooh, this is a very interesting race we got going on.
Rodriguez is right on Lopez's ass.
If I was really good at math, I could probably see how this is going to pan out, but
but we're also racing against each
battling
other.
Teammates.
Matter of fact, we were battling that last race for 4th position, and I ran my guy out of fuel, and that just messed everything up. But yeah, it's very fun and competitive.
Absolutely. Another pro is the real-time races with real-time weather, which is pretty cool.
Another pro, free, so you can try it out, and the 2D is free, so you can see what we're talking about and see what you're getting out of it before switching over or committing to that annual membership. Again, you know what? The $50 though, as much enjoyment as I've got out of it, just in the last month or so, it's worth the $50.
Another pro is that it is really easy to get started, get it set up, and you don't even have to be there during the race. I mean, it is fire and forget if you want it to be.
So that's going to wrap up our pros and cons and pretty much this review, and just going to get to some final thoughts. I don't even really think we need to add any final thoughts here because obviously, if you watched our show before, you can tell that we really enjoy this game.
Yeah.
If we're not going to put on any rev scale because there's nothing to compare it against. This is the first time we've ever reviewed a title like this. So 10 out of 10 for what it is.
I agree. I have one little final thought, or one way to kind of put it in perspective, but I've played my share of fantasy baseball or fantasy football in my day.
I did fantasy NASCAR.
And this is a really detailed fantasy league.
It's kind of the same thing. You really get to know, but you've got time vested into these drivers and the staff and this team, and you want it to succeed. And so we
even know who our rivals are. Team Tech Life with the DRS.
Yeah, Tech Life come into our league with a level 4. That's the other thing. You level up. We don't have DRS or KERS right now. So we're just trying to get our teams built up as best we can at the rookie. By the way, there's rookie, pro, elite. I think we were watching a pro or elite. Those cars seemed faster too. So lots of ways to level up. Again, we're doing it. We're going on forever here telling you guys about this,
and it's free, so go check it out. You don't even have to listen to us.
iGPManager.com. Check it out. Tell them we sent you. Another thing I wanted to mention though before we go. I want to thank Jack Bassford. I believe he's the creator of this, but thank Jack for hooking us up with the 2D version. And Steve Myers, who works for iRacing, loves this title. He tells us they got like a lunch. The iRacing staff has a lunch iGP series that they race in. And so I don't know if they're racing every day or every other day or once a week. But thanks, guys, for hooking us up with this. And that's going to wrap it up. Check out our website, Inside Sim Racing. Oh, we got a new website address. ISRTV.com you can reach us at. Check out our Facebook, Facebook.com/Inside Sim Racing. Twitter, Twitter.com/Inside Sim Racing. For Sean Cole, I'm Darren Ganji. hopefully we'll see you on the iGP track.